Let's be real. Trying to market your practice without knowing who you're even talking to is like throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping that something is going to stick. But what if you could create messaging and something that was so spot on that your perfect patients would see it and naturally want to come work with you? In fact, they would probably say something like, "Oh my gosh, that person really knows me. They get me." In this episode, we are going to dive into how to create a message that will attract your ideal patients without having to put you in a niche, so to speak. So it's going to feel like it was written just for you. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Let's figure it out together. Welcome to the Clinical Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm Rhonda, your no fluff, tell it like it is business bestie for wellness practitioners like you who want to build a practice you love and make a bigger impact and make a little money while you're at it. So if you're ready to ditch the overwhelm, attract your dream patients, and finally run your practice with confidence, you are absolutely in the right place. Each week, we're tackling things from programs to patient retention to marketing strategies that actually work, sprinkled with a little sass, a lot of heart, and the step-by-step strategies that will help you grow. So grab your cup of coffee, your notebook, or whatever keeps you going, and let's build a practice and a life that you've always wanted together. Well, hey friend, welcome back to the Clinical Entrepreneur. I'm Rhonda, and I am here to talk to you today about how to figure out what a common challenge is that your patients are facing. I guess the question I would ask you is like, how well do you really know your patients? You say, yeah, well, I deal with this condition or that condition, but how well do you really know what they think about and what they worry about? Like I talk about this often is what do they lay in bed at night and think about? What do they worry about? What are the things that are the most important for them to get solved? In other words, what are the things that are keeping them from living their best life, for instance? You know, their struggles and keeps them from being a good mom or enjoying a meal out because they're so bloated and they're miserable. What keeps them up at night and they worry or they think about like, oh, if I could just get this thing fixed, I would feel so much better. So that's what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to give you some steps to uncover that one single challenge that's going to help them get faster, better results. And you look like a superstar because you then are positioned as the authority. You know how to get results, and then you can lead them into the next kind of stage or phase of what it is that you're doing. So as you know, we are in the middle of a 12-month business growth plan journey, I'll call it. And so if you haven't downloaded that worksheet, please go do that. Go to rondanelson.com/12-month growth plan. That's the number 12. And each month there's 2 questions that you can answer. And that's this episode. We're going to be talking about that. And then there's also some additional resources available for you. So here we go. Let's talk about why this really, really matters. When you think about it, you know, if you had a broken bone, you're not going to go to a generalist and say, well, I have a compound fracture. Can you fix it? Of course not. You're going to go to an orthopedic surgeon. And patients are no different. They're looking for someone who can go beyond providing basic service. Well, think about even the Western medical model, right? That's where they go to the doctor and the doctor's supposed to be good at all the things, but you know, you might have a medical doctor, a Western doctor, conventional doctor that's good at certain things, but you know, how do you even keep up on all the research anyway? I always say that. You can't fault them because there's so much that comes out all the time. How are they going to know? So for us, we want to find a common challenge that's appropriate, relevant, and important to the largest possible number of people because we want to solve their problem. We don't want to be a generalist that's good at everything, but not excellent at anything. Does that make sense? So people are busy and what they want is a solution. I know that if I need something, I'm going to go look for that thing. I'm not going to visit Target if I need a specific mic for the podcast, for instance. I'm going to find a place that has those microphones. That solves my problem. My microphone broke or I need a new cord or something. And I need to go find that thing. So I'm going to go to the place that says I can solve your mic problems. What we're going to do is figure out what problem do you solve and how can you communicate that really effectively to the people that are listening. And part of communicating that means that you have to articulate the problem. You have to be really good at articulating the problem. Then we have to articulate how you're going to solve the problem. And you don't have to give them all the ingredients in the recipe and all the full instructions and all that. We don't need that. But what is the problem? How you're going to solve it? And then this is the most important part is the transformation or the outcome that they will receive. Because remember, I have a problem. So in my microphone example, which I am literally making up on the fly, it's not in my notes. If I have a missing microphone or a missing cable or a static in my mic or something, I want to know that the place that I go can fix my problem. They're going to make my voice sound amazing on the podcast. Or I want to find the best kind of cream cheese there ever was, and I'm going to go to a raw dairy and they're going to have raw cream cheese. I want the best of what there is because I love cream cheese, whatever it is. But you get the point. They are going to find and look for someone who can solve the problem easily, quickly, and get them out of whatever discomfort or pain that they're in. And that's what we want to do. The more you can articulate a single problem. And as I mentioned at the beginning, this is not about your niche. And I think that there's confusion around this. I don't know about you, but you may already know who you love working with, but this is the number one thing that I think practitioners get stuck on and why they don't know how to grow the business and the business can't grow, the practice can't grow because they're stuck thinking, I have to find a niche. Okay, fine. Push the niche thing out. Could we just forget about that for a couple minutes? Let's just forget about it. Don't think about that word. All I want you to think about is a problem. We're going to find a problem and then we're going to figure out how to solve the problem because it builds trust. So the patient knows, oh my gosh, this person, she knows how to fix this problem. It helps you stand out in the community as being a go-to for whatever you decide. And then it's going to act like a magnet and you're going to start attracting people that have that problem. So I'm going to give you an example and then I'm going to tell you kind of where to start to figure this out for you. Let's say that in your community, you maybe have a lot of women in their 40s and you tend to kind of attract those people. Those women in their 40s probably, okay, I'm just making a generalization, but based from all the doctors I've talked to, the practice owners in Clinical Business Academy, in Clinical Academy, I can pretty much say that women in their 40s are usually tired. So they have energy problems. They often have anxiety. And on a side note, I cannot believe how many people are dealing with anxiety. It's rampant. Everyone has some level of anxiety. I don't understand that. I don't get anxious once in a while, but not as a regular occurrence. So many people are anxious, but also these women in their 40s, they often have some kind of digestive issue. Bloating is the most common, maybe constipation. But they often have bloating, reflux, heartburn, that kind of thing. So they don't want to eat and they're maybe watching their weight, but they anxiety, energy, and bloating. This is women in their 40s. So now just roll with me for a minute. Let's say that you love working with women that have PMS. Let's just call it and make an easy one. You love working with women that have PMS. Well, what is the age group that's probably got PMS? They're women in their 30s, right? They're headed into their 40s. But you know that in their 30s, they're probably starting to develop some issues with energy, fatigue. And you're thinking, well, that kind of happens in the 40s, but also in the 40s, they're sort of starting to move towards menopause as well. So they're perimenopausal during those years. So really, between the age of maybe 35 and 50, are women that are going to be dealing with one of these three things. But you love working with PMS and you're thinking, well, I specialize in PMS. Okay, fine. But what if all of those PMS patients, or a large majority of them, also had issues with just low energy? What is their top priority? Would you say if you held out two cards and you said, you get to choose, we can deal with your PMS or we can give you back your energy. We'll do both, but which one would be first? I would bet that most of them are going to choose, give me my energy and then let's fix the PCOS, or maybe we can even do it at the same time. The point being, the energy one is pretty easy to fix. You give them some adaptogens, we're going to give them some ginkgo or whatever. You're going to change their diet, get them sleeping better, etc. The energy is pretty easy to fix. Anxiety is even easier to fix. And bloating is really easy to fix. There are three things. All of them are a common problem with this group of people that you tend to work with. But if you solve the easier problem first, then they're much more willing to work with you. But if you don't have a niche, you say, well, I don't know, Rhonda. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know. That's all right. Pick a problem, solve the problem. When you solve that problem effectively, then people say, oh my gosh, Dr. Smith, he did a great job. I feel so much better. Oh my gosh, now I'm going to have him help me with my hair loss or help him with my constipation or my Lyme disease or whatever it is. Now you've built trust. So we've just used a small problem that has an easy solution to start to build that relationship with the patient, build trust, and it gives you something to speak about. I help women in their 30s and 40s deal with energy, anxiety, and bloating, or pick one of them. So that's the way I want you to think about it. Not a niche, just a problem. That's all. So now, step one, how are we going to figure out this problem? Well, there's lots of places that you can look for clues. One is you could think about your people that come and see you and think about what are the things that they complain about the most. And you can go back and look at your intake forms, like your new patient intake forms, if you get regular new patients, or maybe look back over just a sampling of them over the last 6 months. What are their primary complaints? You all should have one section in your intake forms that says, what are your primary complaints? Rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. So that helps you, but go back and look. I would bet energy and mood issues are going to be in there. I would bet in most cases. So look back at your new patient forms. Another place that you can look are your consultation notes. As you're sitting down in your functional medicine, or even if you're a chiropractor, acupuncture, you're making your notes. What are they telling you? I'm so tired, or I just can't quite seem to get myself out of bed in the morning, or I'm just bloated all the time. And you're working on them chiropractically or acupuncture wise, but they're saying it. They're using their words to say, I don't feel good. I wake up and I'm tired. I slept all night and I still wake up in the morning feeling tired, like I could just lay there all day. Those are clues for you about a potential problem that you can solve. So your consultation notes. And then sometimes I kind of like to do what I call read between the lines. So I'm listening for what they're not saying. What's happening in their life that they're not able to do because of a problem? And how can I read between the lines and then solve maybe that unnamed problem? Another thing you could do is what are the questions that they ask you? What are the common questions that you get? Can you help with? Or I have always struggled with X, anxiety, but I'm on meds, SSRI or whatever. The fact that they're on an SSRI, you know that there's mood problems. So there might be a way for you to create a solution that solves a problem they don't know they had. They think it's fixed on the SSRI, but they're still struggling. So you might be able to come in and solve that problem for them. Know that they shouldn't be on the SSRI, or they could be off of it. You can work with their doctor to help them get off. So there's lots of places in your practice where you can listen and find clues. You're basically looking for the thing that's kind of keeping them stuck. Imagine it like your foot nailed to the floor. If you had one foot nailed down to the toe of your shoe nailed down, you can only spin in circles because you have that one foot nailed down to the floor. If that's the case, then how do we unstick the foot? Once I can take the nail out of the shoe and I can release that foot, whether that thing that's sticking them to the floor in one place is bloating or digestion or anxiety or whatever it is, you get that fixed, then they have a lot more freedom to be able to heal. You have a lot more freedom when you're working with them. So that's the first thing. Think about your notes, your intake forms. What are the questions that they ask you all the time? What's between the lines? What's that common problem that they just can't quite seem to fix? And that's the thing that you want to provide a solution for. So now, step 2, let's talk about that. Step 2 is we're going to pick one. Okay. We're just going to pick one. That's all. Just one problem to solve. This is going to help your marketing so much. It's one of the top 3 things that practitioners complain about. They say, I need systems, I need help with marketing, or they'll say, I need more new patients, which is short for I need better marketing. They'll say, I need marketing help, and then I need to make more money. Well, when you do this, this is going to help you accomplish all three of those things. You're going to have a system or like a little program, like a little 6-week reset, anxiety reset. Really common. Lots of doctors do this. And that doesn't mean you can't. They do it because it's successful and it works. So you should definitely do it or consider it anyway. So if we did a 6-week anxiety reset, and every patient that comes to you, you sit down in a consultation with them, you're hearing them and they're talking about anxiety. You say, all right, here's where we're going to start. We're going to start with a 6-week anxiety reset. And in that, your energy is going to go up, your anxiety is going to get resolved, and I'm going to teach you the skills for how to manage that anxiety by the end of that 6-week program. Once we're through with that, then we can go start to address some of the other issues. But this is going to be foundational for you because you're going to feel so much better when we're done. If you had anxiety, would that be a yes for you? Yeah. So we want to think about what is the one thing that you can solve quickly, will get quick, fast results, and you know how to do it. Don't promise something that you can't deliver. So in your workbook, if you haven't had a chance to download it, I mentioned it earlier, go download it. It's rondanelson.com/12-month growth plan, the number 12. 12-month growth plan. Go download that worksheet and you'll see we are in month 2. Okay, so we're in month 2. Last month, we talked about month 1, we talked about your mission and your goals, how to get clear about who you want to serve. This now kind of piggybacks on that. We're finding a problem that we can solve for the people we want to serve. So this problem, we're going to create then a program. So now step 3 is we want to create messaging around it. And this is what I alluded to earlier. Your messaging is, what is the problem you're solving? So let's just go with anxiety, for instance. You're going to solve a problem with anxiety. So the problem is that your ideal person just wakes up in the morning with a tight chest and they have trouble kind of navigating outside of their home because they just have anxiety about so many things. They worry about their kids, they worry about life, they're worried about the world, they're worried about their neighbor, they're worried about everybody, just this underlying kind of anxiety. So you're going to say, I help women with anxiety. Now, all of a sudden, you're not just saying, I help women in their 40s. That's fine. But more specifically, what thing can you help them with? You could say women in their 40s with anxiety, but if I were you, I would just say women with anxiety. And how do you help them solve that? So you could say, I help women in their 40s break free from anxiety and reclaim a balanced life with ease, something like that, because that's what they want. They want to have ease. They want to have freedom. They want to feel like they can kind of move through life without the anxiety driving the bus. So I help women with anxiety have a life of ease and freedom so they can feel confident and enjoy their life. I'm making this up on the fly, so don't take that word for word because that one wasn't very good. But you get my point. We want to say what the problem is we're going to solve. And then if you can say how you solve it. So for instance, you could say, I help women with anxiety reduce anxiety or eliminate anxiety within 6 weeks so they can enjoy a life of ease, freedom, and fully function, something like that. So now I've said what the problem is, anxiety. I'm going to do it within 6 weeks. So it's a time-bound statement. And then I'm telling them what they're going to have at the end. They're going to have a life of ease and freedom, and they won't be restricted by their concern or worry anymore. You can use ChatGPT or other AI tools to be able to kind of help you finesse this out. But that's what I would highly, highly recommend. Pick something that you know how to solve and then start to create that messaging. So in your workbook, what you'll find is, I'm going to read you the questions. The first one says, write down the top 3 health challenges, 1 to 3 health challenges that your patients are commonly experience, something that you already see, you already have those people, and then circle the one that makes the most sense to you. And then the second thing to do is identify 5 patients, 5 of your existing patients that already deal with this, and ask them, what is the most challenging thing for you about anxiety? In other words, what does it prevent you from doing? What are the struggles that you have when it comes to anxiety? And these are probably going to be patients that you know and love, and they love you. You have a good rapport with them, and they will be honest with you. Ask them, what does it prevent you from doing? What would it be worth to you if your anxiety was gone? What would your life be like? What kind of outcome? If I were going to promise you something and you could wave a magic wand, what kind of outcome would you want? Just ask them. Write those notes down in your workbook. And that, my friend, is going to give you the absolute basis for this 6-week solution or 4-week solution. You might even do detoxification. I know several doctors who they just run everybody through like it's a 4-week detoxification program. I have one member in Clinical Business Academy. She does a 6-week GI reset. And everyone does it, that she doesn't see anybody until they do that. She works intensely with them for 6 weeks. They pay well for it, but they get remarkable results at the end. And we all know if we can work on the gut and get the gut fixed in the beginning, oh my gosh, the results for the patient are amazing. So that's how she structures it. You can do it any way you want. The point is that when you interview those patients, we want to capture their language. We want to use words that they use. We want to talk about it the way that they talk about it. Your messaging should never be, if you're going to identify a common patient challenge, you're never going to say, I would like to solve anxiety for those in their 40s who have struggled with anxiety for many, many years. And I, as the expert and the authority in this, no one's going to believe you, listen to you, or feel like you're credible. Your language has to be in their language. If they call it anxiety, call it anxiety. If they call it depression, call it depression. If they call it mood, I have ups and downs in my mood, say it like that. But find out the way that they talk about it, because that's what builds trust. And it helps them say, oh, she gets me. Oh, how does she even know that I lay awake at night because I worry whether I'm going to wake up in the morning to get my kids to school on time, whatever it is. They want to know that you understand them and you know how to provide that transformation. That's the goal. Because when you can speak real clearly about the problem that you solve, give them a hint about how you solve it, and then most importantly, describe that outcome that they're going to get, they are far more likely to trust you. And it doesn't matter if you know you're going to do detoxification, you're going to do some gut work on them, you might work some stealth pathogen, parasites, whatever you're going to do. Fine. They don't even need to know all that up front. What they know is this is the entry point. We're going to resolve this problem. You might once in a while get someone who really truly doesn't have that problem. Fine, take them as a patient. But this way, you have something to talk about with people. When they ask you what you do, you state your mission. This is the how. Your mission is to help women in their 40s who struggle with anxiety. Well, now you've got the language to be able to create the actual solution for them. You're going to identify that common problem and then create that solution. So the solution could be, a 6-week whatever, a 4-week whatever. It could be a boot camp that you put them through or a detox, whatever it is. But it needs to be something that already your existing patient base is struggling with. So your homework for this week, my friend, is to block out 30 minutes. Yes, this is part of our journey. We're taking our 12-month journey. Block out 30 minutes to work on this and just sit and think about the challenges that your ideal patients are facing. What is it that they're facing? How is it that you're going to help them solve a problem that really is not that hard to solve, but you are uniquely positioned as a person of authority in the community, in your town, in your area, in your specialty? You are the one that knows how to solve that problem. Because remember, at the end of the day, your patients are looking for someone who really understands their struggles and the person that offers a solution. Not, well, we'll just try this or let's do a detox and see if you feel better. No. Right in the beginning, we say, this is the problem. Here's how I'm going to solve it. And here's how you're going to feel after we're done. And here's how long it's going to take. When you focus on that one common challenge, you'll be able to transform their lives much faster, get them a really quick outcome, and your reputation starts to just go through the roof. So remember, this is not about finding a niche. This is about identifying one problem that you can solve consistently. And when you become the person that solves that problem, you can solve it and then do all the other things that you love to do with them. You don't have to be pigeonholed into doing any certain thing. So no more niche questions, no more worrying about that. We're just going to find a problem and we're going to solve it. Listen, figuring out the biggest challenges that your patients face and crafting a message that works for them isn't just about better marketing. It's actually about making a bigger impact, because once you can specifically speak to them using their language, solve the problem that they are most interested in, they're much more likely to work with you long term. I hope you loved this episode. And listen, if you are looking for a faster way to get from point A to point B in your business, I got you. You need to be in Clinical Business Academy. Go to rondanelson.com/CBA, get all the details and schedule a call with me. And together we'll figure out if this is a right fit for you. So take care, friends, and I'll see you next week on the podcast.